All right, man. I've never done this before, but I'm going to try to just freestyle a 6-5-4-3-2, formerly known as a 6-5-4-3-2. Now it's the 5-4-3-2.
Fuck a six.
Because we don't, yeah, fuck a six. We don't.
Not
we
Toronto.
Don't,
we love Canada.
Yeah, we love Toronto,
Yeah.
but we don't love putting time limit restrictions on talking about albums.
Right.
So in my recent Igor review, I nixed the 6. And now we're just doing 5 things, 4 favorite tracks, 3 adjectives, and 2 potential ratings to give the album. Is it hot or is it not? Was it fi or was it
Nye?
There we go. Thank you, Trent. So Trent is going to be joining me. We are live on the podcast right now, and I promised a 5-4-3-2 review on Bandana.
Right.
Because I really, really liked the album. We even had a listening party for the album. And I wanted to sort of state my case for why I think this album is sort of near perfect. So 5 things that you need to know about Freddie Gibbs, Madlib, Bandana, myself, and Trent in reviewing this album is that, they've been working on this thing for
5 years.
Yeah. Pretty much since the last one came out, we knew that there was going to be a sequel. And since that time, they've been pretty much working on it all 5 years. But it was finished pretty much in 2017.
Right.
So they've been clearing samples and just sort of mapping out their release strategy.
I bet a year of that too was like the team and Freddie like convincing Madlib to like do things. Like, hey man, will you sit down in front of a camera for like 10 minutes?
Right, for Billboard.
I bet it took about 3 months for Madlib to finally be like, fuck it. Like,
Fine. Yeah, that's a great point because they did. This was like a major label release, and they did do more promotion for this one than really went into Pinata. So again, if you're still not following me here, this Bandana album, Freddie Gibbs and Madlib, is the sequel to a very legendary Pinata album from 2014 that we've known and loved for a long time.
Yeah.
So this is a sequel. It is an extension of the narrative, and it further fleshes out or adds to the story. Like I said, the narrative, the idea behind that first
Themes,
album.
yeah.
And as far as I know, we actually have a third one eventually going to cap the series off, potentially named Montana.
Okay.
So you need to know that. You need to know that Freddie Gibbs is a well-known gangster rapper mostly. He's from Gary, Indiana. So he's not like a West Coast gangster rapper. He's not like a New York gangster rapper. He really has just always been himself. Takes influences from Chicago, from West Coast, from East Coast, from the Dirty South. He really is a great mixture of a lot of different components that make that kind of rapper. Madlib, you should know as just a legendary producer, just a producer that can do literally anything.
Right. Does it on his own terms.
Does it on his own terms, and he's a very sample-heavy, plunderphonics type producer. So, the last thing that you probably need to know about, not the album per se, but how we experienced the album, I think is important to note that you, myself, and about 10 other people packed into this room and listened to the album for the first time, like 9:30 or 10 o'clock on Thursday night when it dropped, and just kind of experienced it all at once. Right. Which I'm sure for you, but for me, definitely heightened the experience quite a bit. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. And we talked about that a little bit with one of the other people that was there, Breakfast Boy Brax. We talked to him on the last pod about it. Talked a little more in depth. But yeah, it was definitely a cool experience. And I mean, you already share music with people eventually anyway. Like you share that experience through telling about it or whatever. Right. It was cool to just like do it in the moment. Like I've never done that before.
It definitely enhanced the experience, and it also it's difficult not to incorporate that piece of things into my opinion of the album. That being said, let's get into my 4 favorite tracks, and then Trent, I'll let you throw in your favorite tracks as well, and then I guess we can just sort of speak to them one way or another. At number 4, Freestyle shit.
Oh, okay.
First song on the album. I think kind of went under the radar for a lot of people, but I definitely experienced in being here, listening to it with you guys, like just that first beat. And I don't know, that thing was giving me that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's a perfect way to start the album. It got me really excited.
It was like
on.
a good, like, it was a good setup. Like, this is going to be an awesome fucking project.
Yeah. It was one of those things that's like, okay, this is a good sign.
Right.
And then an honorable mention, not on my list, but since I'm still thinking about the first couple songs I heard, then you move into Half Main, Half Cocaine, which throws you through a loop with the MadLib trap beat.
I said it once. I'll say it again. I'll say it forever. I have never expected MadLib to use a rolling hi-hat before.
Yeah, he did. He did that.
And it was good. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was like, it was just a pretty straight, true trap beat. And then you get to the beat switch, and that, for everyone in here, was a moment like, whoa, like, what just happened? There was an audible reaction from everybody from that. Didn't make my list, but I definitely could not go without mentioning that moment. It was super important. Number 3, Fake Names, another beat switch song. If I remember, Fake Names was the
yeah, and Freddie just like kept his flow but completely switched cadence, and it's like seamless.
Number 2, Palm Olive. Hard not to throw that into the mix.
We all know why.
Exactly. Just kind of Pusha T smashed it. Freddie Gibbs came with an amazing verse too.
I hate how criminal that Pusha T verse was.
Push
so good.
Stole the Thunder.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that Freddie Gibbs verse, it's got to be like in the conversation for one of the better verses. Like Freddie Gibbs' verse on the project, and it's totally under the radar because of that.
And then my number 1 favorite song, Situations,
which seemed to be a crowd pleaser, because Brax also said that was probably his favorite song, or at least the one that was going to stick with him the most.
Well, the thing for me too about Situations was that was the sleeper hit for me. You know, as far as 2 weeks can go,
right?
Because I noticed that you and Brax specifically had been like really jamming on that song.
We liked it like as soon as we heard it.
And I liked it too, but it hit me at some point.
Right.
It hit me later on. So I thought that was interesting that, and it was like how much you two specifically liked it that I was like, I need to take a second look at this song. Yeah. And then I loved the picture painting, the storytelling in the second verse where he goes, 1989, I seen a nigga bleed. And then he talks about someone came into the arcade that he was in, killed somebody. He watched somebody die, turned the arcade into a stampede. I was playing Pac-Man Centipede. And then just the different amount of flows. Exactly. Just the different flows that he hits there are awesome. I thought.
And the hook is like one of the, I don't even know how many actual hooks are on this thing.
Right.
This might be the one that like is like a genuine hook. Like, and the vocal layering, like I said before, I'm sure of it. One of the vocal tracks that is layered in the hook, Freddie Gibbs has a blunt in his mouth. He has to.
Right, yeah.
It's something about like he sounds like 50 Cent, like he's got like his teeth clenched and shit. I don't know.
3 adjectives to describe the album. The first one is picturesque for me. I think intentionally so. This is supposed to be a sort of cinematic experience, as was the first one. And then, naturally, MadLib is constructing beats that will echo a tone or a sentiment or get across a point or an idea that Freddie is trying to execute. And I really feel like they have achieved a sort of symbiosis in that process on this album. Pinata is great. I think that Bandana really benefits from what Pinata has already established and the sort of artistic bond that they've been able to create together through making these 2 albums now and having worked together. Anything you have to say about picturesque qualities about the...
No.
Another term I want to use to describe this album is Bandana is a worthy sequel, a worthy extension of Pinata.
Yeah.
Whether or not you think it's better or not. I don't know which one's better yet. I don't really want to go there. I think many of us would agree that this is a sequel that makes sense. It's an extension of the narrative of the album that makes sense. It does the album justice, I think, for the most part. And lastly, I would say that the album is, I'll say tricky.
Okay.
Again, one of the instant things that comes to my mind in that sense is the Mad Lib trap beat.
Yeah.
Like, no one really expects that. And then there were a bunch of beat switches, and I just felt like, especially in that first listen, it was constant surprises. It's for an album I had a lot of expectations for. Not that I try to do that, but it's hard not to when it's one of your favorite albums.
And you've been waiting
and
5 years.
And you have 5 years, and you've been waiting, and all that. You know, it's like, we can't understate how, at least for us, like how well it all came off and how little I was actually able to predict about the album.
Right.
Given that I've been wanting to hear this album so long. I liked every song, even though it was really hard to choose 4 songs because, you know, Education was amazing. Goddamn was amazing.
Goddamn was like, Palm Olive and Goddamn, I literally had to change my list, my 4 favorite tracks 4 times because I kept being like, nah, I don't know. Like, I just forgot about, honestly, I forgot about Fake Names until like 5
Fake
minutes names, and I was like, I
yeah.
can't leave that switch out. It's too far.
Yeah. And there were ones that I just had to criminally not really speak of.
Right.
So
we didn't, and neither of us had any singles in our top 4.
Your favorite single, real quick?
Crime Pays still.
Mine was Flat Tummy Tea.
Okay, yeah.
Another beat switch. Another really good beat switch. All right. Hot or not? Is this going to go in your...
No.
Well, shout out to everyone watching this on YouTube. Again, first 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. We're doing on the off
fly,
the dome here. Yeah. And drop your 4 favorite songs. Drop your adjectives if you have them, or at least a hot or not rating. Favorite moments and just thoughts about the album down in the comment section below. And remember, art without favor is like a windmill without wind. Dev Domelino into the next segment.